Okay, back with a long overdue update on my Akira, and I am finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, guys. Been doing a lot of work on it over the past week, and I even had a couple of setbacks and had to actually crack the saucer open to check on some lighting, but as it turns out that was all alright and I put it back together again. This is also my first experience with Abe's epoxy sculpt, and I must say I'm rather pleased with it. This is definitely not my best work, but considering how crappy it looked before, pardon my French, it looks a lot better now, and I've done a lot of work on it, especially on the seams and the light leaks. I used the Abe's epoxy to fix some of the major mistakes I made. There's a few pitfalls in this kit that you guys need to keep in mind, as with all resin kits. As of right now, I've completed all the window filling in with a canopy glue. I'm waiting for it to dry. As you can see, some of them are still white, and I've gone ahead and sprayed the gloss on it. I'll leave it overnight to dry, and I'm getting set to put my decals on. I got this great set of Aztec decals that go all over the body, and those are going to help me hide a lot of the defects and a lot of the issues with the kit. There they are. I'll show them to you as I put them on, but let me just go over some things, because never let it be said that I'm ashamed to show my mistakes. The biggest issue I had with this kit was, and this was all my own doing, after I drilled the hole for the pole and I used the epoxy, it loosened up after I initially thought it was dry, and in my manipulating it to get it to glue again, I did not realize I glued this in a lot further than I should have, so that it protruded upwards to the point that it would not allow the two halves of the saucer to glue. That was the most egregious problem I ran into, which forced me to actually see this right here. There was a big gap between the top saucer and the bottom saucer, so I had to take Abe's epoxy and basically create this whole platform right here. As you can see, it's not perfectly even. I sanded it down, but it's not perfect. You see that there's some cracks on there, and it doesn't look 100%, but the decals will cover up some of that, so I expect it'll look all right. The other issue I had, and this is not entirely my fault, was in part because the saucers would not come together. These two pylons were not perfectly even, so one side was higher than the other, and also these things would not line up correctly. One is higher than the other, so I was forced to use a lot of putty before I discovered the Abe's epoxy to fill in these two big gaps that I had here, and then wait for it to dry, and then sand it down to the point where they more or less look the same. You can tell this one has more of an indentation than this one, and the finish doesn't look very good despite my sanding. Again, the decals will allow me to hide a lot of my mistakes to the point that it'll make it look fairly decent, so I'm not gonna agonize over it too much. I just want to put this puppy to bed, because frankly I've been building it since September and I hate to leave things unfinished. All in all, it's a pretty decent looking kit if you can make it look good. The lighting and the effects are all set. My plan now is to allow this to dry, and tomorrow I will begin application of the decals, and God help me, I hope these things lay down. I've got the Werther's whatchamacallit to make them really soft, because I suspect I'm going to need them. But they supposedly cover most of the surface. They're wallpaper decals, and they give a lot of detail to the deck. So I'm kind of psyched about it, actually. I have all the wiring all labeled and set up, and I'm going to use the base that I got from Wolf Base. I was planning on using this transparency and laying it in here somewhere, but I decided I'll just stick with the base and I'll do a display with this. I'll either put it in a small light box or something and put it on the wall to make it look cool. It does transilluminate very nicely with the lights behind it. This base has all the switches all set up. It's got 2 momentaries for the photons and quantum torpedoes and the phaser array, and 3 regular switches for all the lighting that I have. My hope is that by this time next week this thing will be on display someplace in my office or in my man cave. Again, very frustrating kit, and a lot of it was my mistakes. A bit careless. Also, I did not know how to deal with some of the warpage issues that are inherent in these resin kits. I've discovered since then how to deal with them. Mostly you just use heat to shape them into the shape you want, and believe me, these things will reshape any way you want them if you apply heat. I discovered that mostly because of my figure builds, because I was able to use that technique in my figure builds. So looking forward to finishing up, and you guys will be the first to see it when I do have it. So anyway, talk to you soon. Okay guys, Armando here, and I'm back, and this is my official completed video of the Akira 1000 USS Thunderchild by StarCraft Models. And before I go on, I must apologize. Between the first and second segment of this video, 6 weeks have gone by. I simply did not get a chance to go over in detail how I applied the decals, although the techniques are all pretty standard. There were no instructions on how to apply these, so I had to figure them out on my own. And there is one mistake that I'll point out in case any of you guys get these decals, so that you are aware of it and you can do something about it. Suffice it to say, this lady's been on display here for a couple of weeks now. I had to make space for her, as you can see. And I may yet move her from here to another location, but all in all, she makes a good display piece. Now, first thing I'll tell you is I went with a different base. I decided not to go with the base I purchased from Wolf Base. I'll save that one for another build. I just didn't feel it was I felt it was too big for this model. I wanted something a bit more discreet with a smaller footprint. So I used my technique with the plaques from Michaels, stained it black. I put some legs on it, double legs, so that it would fit the speakers, and I put the speakers underneath. Let me get the flashlight so I can show you. So you can see both speakers are in there. All the boards are underneath. Everything is under the base. There is nothing in the saucer because, for one thing, the saucer isn't big enough to fit everything. And for another, I just wanted access to all the electronics. More and more I'm going to be doing this with my kits to make sure I have access to everything in case something breaks down. Another view, picking it up a little bit so you can see it. Let me set it down and light it so you guys can take a look. Similar to what I did with the Enterprise D, there's the 2 speakers. One's for the quantum and photon torpedoes effect, the other one's for the phaser effect. There are all the boards, the navigation and strobe board, the phaser board, and the photon boards, and all the wiring. Everything hides very nicely underneath when you set it down. There are no issues. Now let's go over the wallpaper decals. As you can see, they add quite a bit of detail to the surface. Very nice. and they do hide a lot of mistakes. As I mentioned in my previous segment, that crappy area that I had with the seams. Oh, God, the lighting in my office is terrible. I do need to fix the lights. Is although not completely hidden, it is now part of the paneling, and it makes it look a lot more natural. As you can see, asticking is added to the surface of the ship, so the decals are well worth getting. They do add a lot of perspective and depth and sizing to the ship. They give it a better perspective than compared to the previous previous video, as you can see. A lot of paneling detail, the banners. And speaking of banners, here's a mistake that I mentioned this kit has, the decals. As you can see, the banner on the starboard pylon is correctly oriented, but when you go to the port pylon, the lettering is in the same direction as the starboard panel. That's not correct. It should be facing outwards so that you could read it from this side. Now, if I'd noticed that before gluing them on, I would have tried to fix it. You could conceivably cut out the lettering and reverse it and do it that way. I wrote to Dennis St. Pierre from StarCraft Models about it. He never responded. I'm sure this is an issue that he's aware of, but be careful when you buy the decals. Be aware that that's an issue and that it's something you need to fix. Now, let's go through the lighting. I have the two momentaries here and the switch for the Starfleet etching. This was done by my son in shop in high school, in his school. Very nice etching of the Federation symbol. I don't have any plaque or anything identifying the ship, although the registry is on the ship. I may yet get a small plaque from Jerry, same size as the one I used for my T800 endoskeleton last year. We'll see. The two switches for the main lighting are here. This one lights up the static lighting. The other one lights up all the strobes and navigation and the Bussard collectors with a plasma effect. As you can see, I was able to get the navs to look very nice. Strobes are blinking away in the back there. I have navs in the rear of the nacelles, and I have a strobe on the bridge. Now for the weaponry. Let's go over it again. Those are the quantum torpedoes. Then I have a switch back here. It's a slide switch. I slide it, and then with the same button I now have phasers, or photon torpedoes. Although one of the SMDs died, it was supposed to have two in the center, the two centers. As you can see, only one is working, but at this stage I'll call it battle damage and be done with it. And now, of course, the phasers. Once again. This is the random board from Well, all the boards are from Ralph Tenaglia at Tenna Controls. This is a one that fires in 3 different positions as opposed to my Enterprise D, which, as you'll remember, oops, sorry, that's the photons. This one just fires in 1 position. As you can see, you get better effects through styrene, and specifically the styrene of that ship, than you do through the resin of this one, because the resin was rather solid in the center. You can see that. But it still works pretty nicely. So now I had some issues with light leaks that I could never completely eliminate, as you can see, although I did use canopy glue. At first I was tortured by the light leak, but after a while I decided, you know what, it's finished. It looks pretty nice from far away. It's a good display piece, and it's a good addition to my flotilla of ships here on this table. So I'm calling it done, and on to my next build. So this is the USS Thunderchild, 1000 class Akira class ship from StarCraft Models. Thanks for watching.